This is the Gore N More podcast with your hosts TJ Bowser, Chad Chrisman, and Wes Payne.
The man behind the mask. I don't wanna be buried in a
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Gore N More podcast. This is your host, TJ Bowser, and joining me today is director and special effects master, Joe Castro.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that great introduction, and thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. It's my honor.
Absolutely. It's my honor as well. So what's going on over there?
So today we, here in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Friday, we got a Comic-Con going on. I'm just going to go do a couple costumes and then probably get out of there. What about you?
Oh, I am making monsters and making movies over here in Los Angeles, California. And I have a very, very busy schedule, and I'm very grateful and blessed to be constantly working these days and doing a lot of practical special effects, just like they did back in the 80s and 90s. And I just have a lot on my plate right now that I'm very blessed to have. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. So today's segment is called 13 with 13 because you are involved with a Friday the 13th project. So that's where we ask you 13 questions. So, but before we start the interview, we're going to play a quick message from our sponsors and then get on with it. Okay.
Sounds great.
Gore N More is brought to you in part by A New Kind of Fear Customs. Friday the 13th inspired custom gaming controllers, hockey masks, latex masks, and collectible statues. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at A New Kind of Fear Customs. Do you like photography, cosplay, and Friday the 13th? Then check out 13 Gallows Lane. You can find them on Facebook at Gallows Goes to Hell, on Instagram at 13 Gallows Lane, and on Patreon at Emily Helene. Warning, some content not safe for work. Okay, Joe, so for the first question, what made you want to get into special effects and directing?
Wow, that's an awesome question because I know exactly what it was.
Excellent.
It was 1977, and my mother was away on the weekend with some weekend with the girls, and my father was at home with me. I was 7 years old, and we had the house to ourselves, and my father had to do some yard work, and this was in Helotes, Texas, so he worked out on a big ranch, and he said, "Here, watch this on TV while I work outside," and he sat me in front of the TV. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was probably 2 p.m, and I saw Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Oh, my.
And I had never seen I grew up in this small town, and I'd never seen a feature film by myself when I was 7 years old, and so I got to watch this whole movie by myself. And my father knew I had a fascination for dinosaurs, so he knew I would probably like this movie, and it changed my world forever. I mean, literally, when that movie ended, I knew that I wanted to be a special effects artist, and I wanted to direct monster movies.
That is awesome. Very, very cool story. What is your favorite movie you have worked on and why?
Wow, that's a very difficult question to answer because I worked on some amazing films, and I would probably have to say Blood Feast 2.
Okay.
And and the reason I say that is because I had a chance to work with Herschel Gordon Lewis for the first time, and working with Herschel completely changed my world. Took my entire career and my whole life's goals to a whole new level. Herschel was, and forever shall be a complete and utter genius. And if anybody doesn't know who Herschel Gordon Lewis was, he is the originator of the slasher movie. Herschel directed, produced, wrote, created all the special effects for, wrote all the music for, and created all the special effects for the very first slasher splatter movie ever. That was done in 1963. It was a movie titled Blood Feast. And Herschel became my mentor on the set of Blood Feast 2. I had the honor to create the special effects for the original slasher movie 33 years later after the original was made. And, it was just a life-changing experience. Herschel showed me how to make my gore even gorier. There's one thing to have gore, but then to make your gore sick and disturbing is a whole other level. And Herschel showed me how to do that. And he was just an awesome person to be around, an awesome human being. He taught me how to be a gentleman. taught me how to be a professional. And, he's no longer with us. He died a few years back, but he'll never be forgotten. His work has influenced so many of us, even people that never met him or never have even seen any of his movies have no idea how much his work actually has still a major influence over everything that's going on in the world today of horror.
Now, he also gave you the blood formula, correct?
That's right. I have the original blood formula that was used in the original movie Blood Feast. He told me the formula for that film, and sometimes when I show up on set, I bring a bottle of it, especially when I'm hanging out with my good friends or I'm meeting new people, and I want to make a strong impression. I'll whip out some Blood Feast, Herschel Gordon Lewis blood, and I will bless the set with the blood. Especially if I'm doing some big splatter scene, I will definitely use a big. Normally I'll bring it in like a flask of holy water or like a flask of Elmer's glue, and I will literally bless the set with Herschel's blood because it actually has its own redeeming values to be used in movies today. I use Herschel's blood when I'm photographing blood at night. It seems to have it shows up better on camera when you're photographing scenes at night, especially against dark material or dark objects. So it still has a place in the world of cinema today. Is his formula.
That is awesome. That is so unbelievably cool. So you currently hold the record for the highest body count in a slasher film. Was that your goal going into that movie?
It was. My partner and I made a movie back in 2000. We started shooting it, I believe it was 2010. Might have been 2010. And at the time I was going to Video Symphony, which is a motion graphics, 3D, graphics school here in Los Angeles and Burbank, California. And I decided to make this film, and I said, you know what? Let's do something crazy with it. Let's set a Guinness Book of World Record with it. Let's have the highest body count that's ever been in a slasher movie, and it's a very particular category. It's in a slasher movie. It's not like in a fantasy film. I'm not competing against Lord of the Rings. I'm competing against like Friday the 13th or any other slasher movie that's had a high body count. And so, yeah, when we were going into it, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I didn't want anybody to know that we were doing it either. I kept like no one got a full copy of the script. No one knew no one knew we were trying to accomplish this until we actually set the goal. And then we were able to announce it. And then they realized what we were doing. The only other person that knew that I was doing that was a good friend of mine from Lionsgate. His name is Gore N. And Garl's actually a director, and he edits trailers for a lot of our favorite horror films today. And Garl cut the trailer for this movie, and he knew we were trying to make this huge high body count in the film. So, yeah, it's probably one of my biggest achievements. I actually am looking at the certificate that Guinness World Records sent us on the wall above the fireplace right now.
That's so unbelievably cool.
And I share that honor with Schroeder Melendez from Cult Movies Magazine, and also my partner Steven Escobar. It took a team of people to do it. I did not do it by myself.
That's so cool. I think it's at 155 kills, if I'm correct.
That's right, 155 kills. And in order for it to be considered a kill, you actually have to see the person's dead face on camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what is the most difficult makeup or effect that you have done?
The most difficult one. Wow. I don't know that, I don't think any of it, there was a scene when I was shooting Blood Feast 2 with Herschel where a girl gets skinned alive. And, the budget for the movie was very, very small compared to what the big effects I was doing in the film. And so they wanted to cut this girl's skin off her head and pull her head and her skin down all the way to her chest. And they wanted the head underneath to still be alive. They wanted the eyeballs to still be moving around. And they wanted the tongue to move and the jaw to open. And, I was working on a very minuscule budget. And I was able to accomplish all that. But when we pulled the skin off, Herschel was like, that's not gory enough. And I'm like, what more do you want? I can put more blood and more slime. And he's like, no, that's not doing it for me. It's still not sick enough. And so he took me over to the craft service table, and we got a 5-gallon bucket. And he's like, started like pulling pieces of chicken skin off from the fried chicken. And he put some mashed potatoes in it, some salad dressing. And he got it just the way he wanted to look. And he's like, don't mix that together. Now put some blood on top. All right, now we got it. Come on over here. And we went back. So I like put like all this shit from craft service, all over the head with the blood, and that seemed to work for him, and he liked it.
That is
but it was
cool.
it was hard getting into his mind. I mean, he had decades of experience doing this, and this was literally the first time I tried to do something that was sick and gory with this master of gore, and he knew exactly what he wanted, and he showed me exactly. He was a good teacher. Yeah, so it was difficult trying to please him on that first thing. After that, I got the gist of what he wanted, and I was easily able to roll with that. I think it's more difficult to watch my stuff get cut from a movie. The other way around. That happens all the time. In fact, 2 of my favorite movies that I directed, they were both released in Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. And at the time they were released, they had to be rated by the MPA rating system. Today, when independent filmmakers release their movies on these home media platforms, even Google Play and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all this stuff, you don't have to have it rated by the MPAA. And I did at the time. We did, and so we would submit our films to the MPAA, and they would just trim all the gore out of our films.
That is what the one downfall of the MPAA is. They destroy a lot of people's work.
But having the MPAA rate your film allows your film to be released in much bigger venues.
I see.
So you kind of like, it's one or the other. You want everybody to see your film, even though it's trimmed. And so what we would do is they would give us the notes, and we would trim. Or they told us, and we would put some back in another place, hoping they would see it. And then they would give us some more notes, and we would trim, and we'd put some back in another place until finally they got tired, and they said, "Okay, you're done."
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have won over 46 awards for your work in producing, directing, and creating special effects. What is your crowning achievement?
Definitely like I said, the Guinness Book of World Record, probably for the highest body count. But just being able to work amongst so many amazing directors, and just people in the industry that I never ever dare dream to be a part of their films, like with Herschel, Bring Stevens, Linnea Quigley, Dave Dakota, Fredel and Ray, David Carradine, Artie Johnson, and the list goes on and on. When I'm growing up, my father watched this movie called Lone Wolf McQuade. Have you seen Lone Wolf McQuade?
I have never.
It stars Chuck Norris and David Carradine. And one of the first, David Carradine is Mr. Fu Man, Mr. Kung Fu, and my father watched it religiously, every other weekend with his drinking buddies, on VHS. And when I came to Los Angeles, one of the very first feature films I worked on was a movie titled Evil Tunes, and it was directed by Fredel and Ray. And the evil villain in the movie was David Carradine, from my father's favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
so when I was able to send back a picture of me and David Carradine on the set of Evil Tunes to my father just could not have been any happier. He just my father has since passed away, but it was amazing to be able to show my father that achievement. It's probably my greatest achievement. Yeah.
What do you find to be more difficult, directing or special effects?
Oh, definitely directing. Special effects. I've done it for so many other people, and I've done it so many ways. I mean, I still have plenty more to learn, but directing is a real challenge. Getting directing right. I mean, I think that most people direct, and they think, my experience has been that people think that what they do is amazing. Mm-hmm. Real directors are constantly looking at their flaws and are constantly trying to teach themselves something new. They know that they understand that there's always room for improvement. And so when I look at my work, that's what I see. I'm always trying to improve on it. And, it's great to have all the acknowledgments from fans and peers in the industry, but there's always room for improvement. And when I look at what I've directed, I think I get 1/6 of what I see in my head out actually on this. So I'm always trying to achieve that bigger bigger, broader, and bolder image, but ultimately, I think my imagination is just far more powerful than the budget of the film.
That's not a bad thing. What are some upcoming projects that you are working on or would like to work on?
Okay, well, I can just let everybody know now. I just finished co-directing with two other amazing directors. My partner Steven Escobar, who has an Emmy for outstanding editing and reality television programming for The Amazing Race. Him and another gentleman, his name is Thomas Churchill. We all three directed a brand new science fiction film titled Xenophobia, and it will be released before the end of the summer. And it has all old school Star Wars practical effects aliens in the film.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and has all. I try to do everything practical. There is going to be some digital stuff in it, the spaceships and whatnot, but all the creatures and all of the special effects in the film are all done practically. And I try my best to really give it a real throwback to the 70s and 80s of that kind of like that science fiction horror kind of crossover thing with like Extro and Star Wars and all those great films that we still love today. And then, of course, I have a couple of other stuff. I don't know that I'm allowed to mention them at this point. So I'm going to be working on at least two big sequels at this point. And then because I'm in the middle of doing one right now. And I have a couple of giant creature movies on my plate at the moment. There's a big action film that's going to be hopefully coming out before the end of the year. It's called Nation's Fire. And I did all this practical gore for the film. And, that's kind of unique. You don't normally see a lot of like practical gore and blood in action films these days. But this is kind of like a throwback to like The Godfather and kind of like some like films from like the 80s that were really bloody. There were action films and they used actual like heads being yanked off, arms being yanked off, gunshots to the face, that kind of stuff.
Can we expect a new Terror Tunes?
Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping to have Terror Tunes 4 ready to be distributed by the end of the year.
That is awesome.
And and I'm bringing it back. Most of the cast from the first film will be in it. And of course, Brink Stevens is also involved in it. And it'll be an anthology film. So it'll have all the same characters from the original, and there'll be a lot of new stuff in it.
That is awesome. I can't wait for that. How did you get involved with Friday the 13th Vengeance?
That's a very good question. So I met a gentleman named Don Shell on Facebook, and he befriended me, and he has been a fan of my work for many years now. And we just started chatting it up, and he said he was one of the executive producers on the film. And he asked me if I would like to create this spectacular death scene for Jason Brooks. And Jason Brooks plays the new Jason in Vengeance. Mm-hmm. And Don, I don't know how many details about it I get to.
I know what you're talking about, but so I don't think they do.
I think I could just say, it's kind of like this spectacular kind of custom sequence that they asked me to come up and do. And Don took care of everything, and Jason came down to LA to work with me on the effect. And then they flew me up to Seattle, where they took me to set, and I was able to assist in a couple of the deaths, and then make this big spectacular death with for Jason. And I got to work with Mick Strawn, and the entire crew up there was just amazing. Jeremy Brown, the director, and the list goes on and on. It was just such an amazing group of people, and it's an experience that I will never ever forget.
That kind of
the movie looks incredible. They're doing such an amazing job with the photography, the acting, the story, the detail of the story. And then when CJ Graham walked in and he got into his costume, I did have the honor to put some finishing touches on his look. And he's just such a powerful presence, even in person.
Oh,
when
yes.
You put him in full costume and you get him in front of the camera, and the whole movie just came to life. And you realize, damn, we're making a big, big movie. This looks amazing. Yeah.
So that kind of answered my second question, which was what was your experience on set? But that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was it like working on an iconic character like Jason Voorhees?
You know, I think that, you know, that's how do you answer that? I don't know. It still hasn't settled in yet. They're not done with production. Just being up there on set with everyone definitely was an amazing experience. But I think once the film comes and I get to experience like the feedback and the kind words and the well wishes and being able to sit in a movie and watch it with the cast and crew, that's where I'm really going to be able to feel the full brunt of the experience. And until then, it's kind of like I'm wondering where we don't know where this experience is going to take everybody, because the opportunities are so huge and endless.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Now more to the more fun type stuff. Who's your favorite final girl in the F-13 franchise?
Okay, now that's going to be a very difficult question to answer. I mean, because okay, first of all, the first film I saw was Part 3. I saw Part 3 in the movie theater.
Yes.
And then each one I've seen in the movie theater when it was first released.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two I think I saw on VHS or on cable, recorded from cable on VHS. And each person that survives each film has a special place in my heart and in the hearts of all fans. I think I don't know that I could say there was one special. There was one that was more special than the other. So I'm going to have to, you know, I kind of consider each of the girls like in some way family, you know, like an older sister kind of thing, just someone that that I hope to see more of. And like I said, has a special place in my heart.
Awesome. What is your favorite Jason Voorhees kill?
Now that one's an easy question. I know exactly what it is. It's in Friday the 13th Part 3D when the guy gets his head crushed and his eyeball pops out.
Yes.
I remember seeing that in the theater in 3D for the first. I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade, and my friend Gilbert Rose's his older brother was in high school, and he only went to school half a day because he actually started a job. He was a senior, or he was older, and so he got to work the other half a day. So he came and picked us up from middle school and got us out of school so we could go to the theater before our parents got home and didn't know where we were, and sign us into the rated R movie. And that's how we got to see Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. It was like in the middle of the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. And, you know, it was just like when that effect happened, I was like, I just couldn't wait to get out to Los Angeles and start working in movies where I could do this same stuff, you know.
That is. So who's your favorite Jason and why?
Well, that's also going to be a difficult question to answer. I mean, each one of the actors that's portrayed Jason has somewhat put their own spin on it, but with such respect and love for the character, you can't deny any of them. Mm-mm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, each person has added something to the character that's made it better and better and more powerful. And, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think I could actually pick a favorite Jason at this point. I will say this, though. This is what I will say. Tom Savini, anything that Tom Savini puts his hands on, I love.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. There you go. You know, anything that he's created with his own hands, the first Jason and the Jason in Part 4, you know, just the looks of the character and what he did for that character. You know, I hope that in the future, I hope he even gets even more praise for all the gifts that he's given us through the Friday the 13th franchise and all the amazing special kills. Because basically every kill from what Tom did is in some way an homage to all the weird, cool things he did and invented for all of us to play with. You know, he showed us how to make gore fun and how to make slashing exciting, you know, and I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does, because he does amazing work, and he did amazing work in those films.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm a very, very big Tom Savini fan, and I think that those effects in 4 absolutely added to the fact that film's actually very scary if you sit down and think about it.
I love that film. I think he did. I mean, just everything about that film, including Jason's death at the end, it was just superbly executed, you know.
Well, that's all the questions for today. If you have anything else you'd like to say, you're more than welcome to. Yeah.
I just want to say, hey, if you want to come over and say hello to me on my Facebook page, I'm very social on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Joe.Castro. Send me a message and send me a friend request, and let's talk about horror movies and let's make movies.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on today, Joe.
Thank you.